Going for an adventure in the great outdoors is almost a part of the Australian national identity, but the problem is, not many of us know how to do it properly. In fact, it's now so commonplace that getting stuck has become a bit of a joke. The idea of all the gear and no idea, or I got bogged out. There are Facebook groups, there are bumper stickers, and yet we don't even really bat an eyelid these days. But what if there was a better way? What if we could learn to drive off-road safely? Well, guess what? There is. I'm here at Peak in South Australia, about 2 hours east of Adelaide, with the 2024 Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, a large family SUV with some serious off-road credentials. Not only to find out how good the car is, but also how to use it safely on sand, on gravel, on rocks, and over water crossings and up and down hills and things like that. Well, that's enough from me. Let's go meet Tony Dorrington from Mitsubishi Motors Australia, who can show us the ropes. So you have been there obviously in the development of the update for the Pajero Sport.
Yes.
What are the skills that we're learning and how is the car helping us to do that?
Okay. So we want people to go out and experience the great outdoors in our cars.
Yeah.
And so what we've been doing over the past couple of days is demonstrating that capability to you. Today we're experiencing sand mode in the car, which enables the car to kind of stay afloat on the sand and maintain, some forward momentum to avoid getting stuck.
What are the important things to know about driving on? I guess we start with sand.
So the most important thing about sand is, just keep your boot in, no, that's stuck. Okay, so now we just need to grab reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just try and back out of where we are.
Okay.
Just get the steering wheel straight, okay, and just feed in some throttle and go backwards. That's it.
It's easy, okay.
Yep, beautiful.
Okay.
So what you could feel there was the car actually, controlling the traction on each wheel.
Yeah.
So the car was able to work out which wheel didn't have sufficient traction, and so by just keeping that power in, you enabled it to put the torque to the appropriate wheel.
Great. Well, I'm kind of glad actually, because I haven't been stuck yet, so it's kind of, it happens, right? So you kind of do need to know what you're going to do.
Yeah, you need to know how to, yeah. It's inevitable. So down to the right there. Now, what were we talking about?
About the sand modes and kind of like what are the important things to know about.
Yeah, so the most important thing about driving on sand is to keep the car as floating on top of the sand as much as you can. So in order to do that, there's a couple of important things. The first one is lowering the tyre pressure to enlarge the footprint of the tyre, so the tyre's got, the car's got more area to sit on the sand. So the second thing is to try and keep some momentum up, to enable you to keep floating on top of the sand. Using four-wheel drive is almost mandatory, and if the car's fitted with a lock centre differential, then that's the mode that you should choose.
How about driving in some of the conditions that we were yesterday? So we were doing water crossings, we were going up and down steep hills, and we were on gravel, we were on rocks a bit like this.
Yeah, so low range is always an excellent choice for that kind of condition. Using low range gives it enables more torque to be available, so it enables you to climb steep ascents, and it gives you much more control over the throttle.
Yep. Just the kind of basic skills and things that we were discussing, things like where you're putting the car on the,
Yes.
What path you're taking, the position on the road, your seating position, steering and things like that. How important are those? What are the things to consider there?
Ensuring that you're balanced in the car so that you're comfortable, you can keep your legs slightly apart and you can brace yourself if you need to. Left foot on the footrest, because that becomes an important point of contact. Firm grip on the steering wheel, but not overly tight. So research shows that gripping the steering wheel tightly can actually cause your field of vision to narrow, and not allowing the wheel to spin back at any point. You need to be in control of the car. not the car dictating what it's doing to you.
You hear a lot about people getting bogged. you see it even on the news sometimes. What do you think about in terms of like licensing or endorsements or anything like that people should have more skills in four-wheel driving if they're going to attempt to drive places like this or beaches or national parks or things like that? Because people definitely need to be knowing what they're doing in some capacity, right?
They do. They do. And I think, that's a really important point that you raised. Education is important, and understanding, what you need to take in order to be prepared for wherever you're going. I'm going to the outback. What do I need?
Yeah, but also how to use those things, because
that's
there's a bit of like all the gear, no idea, right? So you can have all the max tracks in the world, but if you don't know where to put them, what's the point?
That's right. So seeking some four-wheel drive training from an accredited training provider is a really good idea.
We'll be putting the 2025 Pajero Sport through its paces soon in a full review, so make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you don't miss out. So if Tony's just told us how to get off-road driving right, where exactly are we all going wrong? Common errors include people driving too fast for the conditions and using poor technique. According to Cameron Waring from the Australian Driving Institute, we have an attitude problem in Australia and think getting stuck is something that won't happen to me. In fact, 2 Prados got stuck in the surf near the rocks at Rainbow Beach earlier this month, showing even the most capable cars aren't immune, and most of the problem is down to user error. The idea of some kind of mandatory driver training or even a special licensing requirement is one that's up for debate, with many motoring clubs and organisations and driving schools thinking that at the very least there should be some kind of special endorsement. But does that have to be a whole new licence or be prohibitively expensive? No, it doesn't. Experts agree that more training is needed to help Aussies drive more safely off-road. And indeed, there are organisations across the country which offer programs. But in a classic case of you can lead a horse to water but you can't make them drink, making training compulsory might be the necessary way forward. Mr. Waring tells us that there are 3 ways it can be tackled. Practical in-person training, just like we've been doing here today. Then beyond that is theory training, with the least ideal being an online course. Mitsubishi Australia's Chief Executive Officer Sean Westcott, however, thinks a mandatory requirement could be a bit of a stretch, but he does advocate for anyone buying a four-wheel drive not to go beyond their capabilities and know their limitations, and ideally to get some training or even join a local four-wheel drive club. But what do you think? Should four-wheel drive training be mandatory in Australia? Let me know your answers in the comments below, or like if you agree. When it comes to beach driving specifically, there are different laws in different states. In South Australia, beaches are treated as public roads, which means that anyone can drive on them and access them. In other places, it's not quite so clear-cut, like Queensland. There are additional barriers that are in place and things like permits for individuals and even driving schools, which makes things a little bit trickier. As part of this experience, I've also had the chance to test out the Pajero Sport at the Adelaide Hills four-wheel drive park, which is used for groups and corporate training, but also for recreation. In fact, you can just rock up any day and have a drive or even camp if you want to. With the full-size Pajero no longer on sale, the Pajero Sport carries the torch for the iconic nameplate. Related under the skin to the Triton Ute, it blends 7-seat SUV practicality with Ute-derived off-road capability for families keen to head off the pavement. For 2024, the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport has been given a late-life facelift. Some tweaks to interior and exterior styling and technology, while retaining the same 2.4-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine and 8-speed automatic transmission from the previous model. It's the second and likely final facelift for the now 9-year-old Pajero Sport, which is due to be replaced by an all-new model next year, based on the underpinnings of the new Triton. And that's good news, as it's starting to face some stiff competition from updated rivals such as the Ford Everest and Isuzu MU-X. If you'd like to know more about these models and other family-friendly off-roaders, or are ready to buy, you can find it all on Drive Marketplace. One of the biggest customer groups for the Pajero Sport is couples aged 35 to 49 with children, and Mitsubishi says that this car specifically appeals to their sense of adventure. Priced from $51,540 before on-road costs, Mitsubishi now offers 5 versions in the Pajero Sport lineup, 1 5-seater and 4 7-seaters, and it now only comes with 4-wheel drive. The Pajero Sport has a switchable 4-wheel drive system called Super Select 2 that can go between 2 high, 4 high with a locked centre differential, and 4 low with locked diff. In case it gets really tough, you can engage the rear differential lock on the centre console mounted button as well. And there are 4 off-road modes that can be chosen to suit the terrain: gravel, sand, rock, or mud and snow, which offer maximum traction by optimising power delivery from the engine, transmission and brakes. This spotted lesson at Adelaide Hills 4-wheel drive park really focuses on mastering the basics of driving off-road, including the best lines to take not to get stuck, optimal seating position, steering, timing, pace, and how to use the technology the car offers versus when to rely on your own skills and instincts. While there are calls for four-wheel drive training to be a requirement, even a little knowledge can go a long way to help you when you're in the bush or out in the sand like this or on the beach. If you want to see how the Pajero Sport's two main rivals, the Isuzu MU-X and Ford Everest, stack up against each other, you can also check out our video above and decide for yourself.